Good morning, welcome to the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. My name is OLORUNTOBA YUSUF. Great to have you join us on the conversation this morning. Now, let's get started with what played out on the floor of the National Assembly during the week. It was a debate that divided members of the Green Chambers of the National Assembly. A debate over a bill that is seeking to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to make voting compulsory for all citizens of the country that are of voting age of 18 years in national and state elections. Now, the bill passed second reading during Thursday's plenary session, which was presided over by the Speaker Tajuddin Abbas. It was jointly sponsored by the Speaker and a lawmaker from Plateau State, Daniel Asama. Now, the bill basically stipulating penalties for eligible voters who fail to come out to vote on election day without a valid justification. It includes a fine of 100,000 naira, 6-month jail term, or both. Now, of course, the bill has generated a lot of reaction. When first introduced the bill in mid-April, the National Assembly debated it, and there was that public outrage with students under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Students also threatening mass protests in opposition to the bill. So, leading debate on the general principles of the bill, some lawmakers argue that the heart of democracy lies in citizen participation. They say, look, democracy thrives when people are actively involved in choosing their leaders and shaping governance. And interestingly, it's not only in Nigeria that something like this has been discussed or even enforced as well. According to reports as of January 2023, 21 countries have actually implemented laws regarding compulsory voting. Now, law enforcement in those countries vary, and the penalty for not casting a ballot without proper justification also ranges from severe to non-existent. For instance, in Argentina, some people are exempt from voting on election day. Those who are not within voting brackets, those who are over 70, judges, the assistants that must provide services during election day are not covered by this law, but voting is compulsory. As a matter of fact, it was first introduced in Argentina in 1912. Registered voters who abstain from voting without a verified justification are liable to a fine, as stipulated by the court. And according to reports, when it was introduced, it spiked voter turnout in the country in the 1980s by 85%. Australia is also another country that has, a semblance of compulsory voting as well. There are those who are, of course, not covered by the law, those who are not, those who are ill, those who have religious obligation or objection to voting are not covered by this compulsory voting law. And they say that because of this compulsory voting, the turnout of Australian election has never fallen below 90%. In fact, those who do not vote deliberately are fined up to 180 Australian dollars by the authorities. So the law here in Nigeria is proposing 100,000 naira fine or 6-month jail term or both, as the case may be. Bolivia is also another country. Brazil is also another country as well. Chile, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Egypt, Greece, Honduras. About over 20 of them that have a semblance of this voting. So there are those who have argued in favor of it, saying that, look, that's how democracy works. People actually need to participate and make the decision in choosing.
The playing field be level for inclusion. For everybody in every corner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to come out and exercise their voting rights. Mr. Speaker, there has been some wrongs in the past that has made Nigerians not comfortable with the political system, but I believe that there must be a day that will mark the day of change. And I believe that with this bill, seeking to make it mandatory for our brothers, our sisters, our sons, our children, our fathers, those that for some reason before now have had apathy to come out to vote, to say that it is time we are being mandated by our representatives to make sure that we register to vote and we exercise the right to vote.
We are trying to put something on nothing. It's not the problem mandating citizens to vote. There's no problem making it compulsory for citizens to vote. But a situation where citizens have lost confidence in their vote, it becomes a problem, a very serious problem. And as such, Mr. Speaker, while we are making a law to make voting compulsory, we should also make a law that will make the votes of citizens count. The last election, Mr. Speaker, we can all say without shying from the truth, INEC chairman and all the INEC officers went around the country carrying out campaigns that their vote will count, giving all set of promises, and at the end, we saw something else. So while we are
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
the mandatory voting,
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
let us do the needful.
Where's your point of order? Yes, please. Mr.
Well, I mean, that's an excerpt of how the debate went down on the floor of the House of Representatives during the week. So let's get into the conversation now. Let me bring on Prof. and Barrister to get things started this morning. Professor Remi Ayede is one of our panelists on the podium. He's a professor of political science at the University of Ibadan. Prof, great to have you. Good morning, sir. Hello, Prof. Good morning. I don't know if you can hear me. Yes. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, sir. Morning. Let me also bring on Barrister. Barrister Remi Ogunlola is another panelist on the show. Barrister, good morning.
First of all, good morning.
Morning, sir.
My noble prof, good morning.
Yeah, good
And
morning.
a wonderful morning to Nigerians.
Yes. I mean, let me start with you, Prof. I mean, the issue of voting is being debated in the National Assembly, and it stems from that feeling like of political apathy on the part of Nigerians. The number has been falling for some time now, and the number of 2023 was actually very low, record low, as a matter of fact, compared to what we had in the past. And the members of the National Assembly are looking at, copying the model in some of these countries I mentioned earlier in my introduction. Over 20 of them have different forms of laws that mandate citizens to come out and vote. They also have punishment, and stricter measures or penalties for those who violate it, which vary depending on the country involved. What do you make in terms of driving voter turnout and curbing apathy amongst citizens of the country?
Yeah, thank you very much. I've actually been involved in a number of studies on voter turnout. The latest one is we just published about 2 months ago on determinants of voter turnout in Nigeria with YAGA Africa. And you are right, the most potent means of advancing vote or increasing voter turnout is through compulsory voting. But we must also ask, what is the most potent way of driving out poverty, and whether Nigerian governments have actually taken their time to explore how poverty can be reduced. But now they are looking for how voter turnout can be increased. They have also not gone out to say what is the best way elections can be conducted so that we can have free, fair elections, and they will behave in a manner that will build political trust, people's trust in the electoral process. Why are they looking for things that are convenient for them, where they can easily jail ordinary Nigerians, punish them for things that... this is a very curious decision or bill in terms of what the National Assembly chooses to pay attention to and what not to pay attention to. One of the important points that has come out of our discussions, and I think if you look at, I think the Tribune editorial a month ago also wrote something on that, and Yaga also has a position on that. It's really that democracy is about freedom, and we must never forget that. And freedom can only be realized when you also have capacity. So they should rather focus on one increase.
Hello, Prof.
Exploring ways and means to build the capacity of Nigeria to be able to take decisions. Because right now, poverty has made it impossible to stand for anything. So when you talk about...
Oh, Prof, there seems to be a feedback. There seems to be this feedback. Maybe a device is vibrating. Is it from your end, Prof?
Not from my end.
Okay.
I think we should ask Yomi.
Barrister, there seems to be a feedback from your end. The device is vibrating. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay.
So that's the crux of the matter. So they've avoided the problems, and they are looking for ways of compelling Nigerians to vote, whether they vote without choice or not. Because democracy is about having choices. They should focus on of Nigerians being able to meaningfully choose before they now say, okay, it is compulsory for Nigerians to vote. And then, of course, it's not rush Nigerians or to make life difficult for Nigerians. They should rather think about easing the conditions of Nigerians so that they can more fully exploit their franchise. Now, what has the studies of democracy taught us about voting? It says that when you have a large middle class who are educated and politically conscious, then you have a vibrant democracy. Democracy is not just about voting, and I think that's where they are missing the point. We are talking about people not having trust in the system. We are talking about the system not being having a large dose of integrity. We are talking about a system that is not trustworthy, that is filled with malpractices. So these are the issues facing Nigerians. Not, and of course, what it then means is that low voter turnout is the byproduct of something else, a number of factors. And we think that those factors is what the legislators should focus on, rather than addressing the symptoms by threatening Nigerians with jail term. So that's the thing.
Okay, Prof. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, I will go to Barrister to also get his thought on this bill as well. If you're just joining us at the Podium on 32 FM 94.9, don't forget we're live on Facebook 32 FM 949 FM. Drop your comment, like, and share the video. We'll be back in a moment. Do stay with us.
Hits of yesterday.
Today and back in the day.
And if you think about it, even tomorrow. 32 FM 94.9.
Every day when my children return from school, I don't recognize them. Hello, do I know you?
It's us, mommy.
But these dirty, sweaty uniforms and socks were clean in the morning. Everything don't transform. I understand though. School is hectic. It takes energy to come home this transformed. So I make sure they have some nutritious Milo at breakfast.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Ọjọ́ wo ni pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣìn àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn ọmọdé tí iléeṣẹ́ 32 FM? Oṣù karùn-ún lélẹ́yìí. 32 FM dà. Ṣé a lè ṣe àyájọ́ àwọn ọmọdé láìsí 32 FM ni?
Agbọ́ yín, a sì mọ èrò ọkàn yín. Ẹ kú ti mọ̀ wá tẹ́lẹ̀. A dúró tán, a sì ní já yín kulẹ̀. Ṣẹ́yìn náà ti wá ṣetán fún ayẹyẹ àti pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣìn àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn ọmọdé tó máa kílẹ̀ gbìgbìgbì jùlọ nílùú Ìbàdàn. Smart Kids and Parents Hangout Season 7 tí yóò wáyé ní Palms Mall Ring Road nílùú Ìbàdàn lọ́jọ́ Sunday ọjọ́ karùndínlọ́gbọ̀n oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2025 Sunday May 25th 2025. Ó ti máa dùn jù. Àwọn ohun ìṣeré fún àwọn ọmọdé bíi Bouncing Castle tó fún ìgbọ̀ngbọ̀n tí yóò mọ̀ mú káwọn ọmọdé fò fáyọ̀ yóò wà ní ìkàlẹ̀. Kíkọ ojú lọ́nà àrà tí yóò mọ̀ dẹ́rìn pẹ̀kẹ́ àwọn ọmọdé. Eré ọpọlọ, ijó, orin, ẹ̀fẹ̀, ẹ̀rín kéékèèké lẹ́nu àwọn ọmọ. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn daddies and mommy wọ́n á máa kópa nínú eré lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún 5,000 náírà péré 5,000 naira ńlọ́wọ́ ìwọlé. Èyí wà lẹ́ni òsì nǹkan. Láti ra tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì ṣagbátẹrù tàbí fún àlàyé síwájú ẹ pè Sùnbọ̀ sórí nọ́mbà yìí 0704 017 4981 tàbí Bọ́láńlé sórí nọ́mbà yìí 0810 067 2518. 32 FM 94.9 Ìbàdàn ló ṣagbátẹrù ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àjọṣepọ̀ Rigorous Games. Ọmọ tèmi ò ní gbẹ̀yìn.
Welcome to Bet Great. Bet on sports. Confirm bonus up to 350% and stand a chance to win with Bet Great. You can cash out and auto cash out whenever you want. So you're always in charge. Now casino game you want? You can pilot yourself with Bet Great on Aviator and much more. And be in cruise control. Join using promo code GOAL and get your welcome free bet. Experience these and much more in our shops or online on betgreat.com. Be great. Bet Great. Bet responsibly. Only 18 plus.
Congratulations, you have won 10,000 naira on the Cocoa Box raffle. You too can be a winner on the Cocoa Box raffle. Pick up your phone and dial *347*253# for 200 naira only. Follow the prompt. The bank is Space Stack Titan. And stay tuned for the live raffle on Ishaya at 9:30 a.m. Call and win game show 2 p.m. Killer Tishay 3 p.m. Ege 5 p.m. and WhatsApp Niger 6 p.m. 2 winners will be picked on each show. The more you play, the more your chances of winning. Cocoa Box is in partnership with 32 FM 94.9 Ibadan.
lójú ẹni tí ò mẹ́nu ẹ̀ ayò lásán ni wọ́n pè é àmì èyí gan ni ìtakàngbọ̀n láàrin àwọn akọni orí ọ̀dàn tí kálukú fẹ́ mórí délé ní pápá ìṣeré Allianz Arena PSG àti Inter Milan láṣekágbá ìdíje UEFA Champions League gbogbo àrà tí ó máa ṣẹlẹ̀ níbi ìfẹ́kábágọ̀ òun lórílẹ̀-èdè Germany láti tẹ́ pẹpẹ rẹ̀ sí Rescos Amphitheatre Adamasingba Ìbàdàn lọ́jọ́ 21 oṣù tá a wà nù rẹ̀ yìí ìpéjọpọ̀ lásán kọ́lé lẹ́yìn o àjọyọ̀ àwọn olólùfẹ́ eré ìdárayá káàkiri àgbáńlá ayé aago 4 ìrọ̀lẹ́ lẹ́nu lọ́rọ̀ ti là kalẹ̀ àkókò tí wọ́n bá dé yẹn gan nídìí yẹn ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ àwọn ará mẹ́rin ìrí tó tayọ àwọn ìtẹ́ ti mẹ́rin tẹ́lẹ̀ tó fi mọ́ àwọn ẹ̀bùn lórí ìrànlọ́ tó jọjú dáadáa níbi tá a ti rí motorcycle fóònù jẹnẹrétọ̀ àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ìkànnì fẹ́yìn ẹ̀ 32 FM lólùgbàlejò àdàlú ìgbàládùn tó àpòpọ̀ mọ́ eré ìdárayá pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ iléeṣẹ́ sọ̀wọ́dowó betgrade àti iléeṣẹ́ tó pọn tí mímu pẹ̀nà ricard ọkọ̀ fàájì kò tún gbọ́dọ̀ dùjú tọ̀tẹ̀ yìí lọ ta lẹni tó fẹ́ gbégbá orókè ṣé PSG tí ò tí ì gbárí ni àbí Inter Milan tó ti gbà tipẹ́tipẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ àjọ fìtàn balẹ̀ nílùú Ìbàdàn ẹ gbọ́ wo bọ́ọ̀lù kẹ́ẹ̀tún jayé jù ẹ ò ní gbàgbé bọ̀rọ̀. iléeṣẹ́ sọ̀wọ́dowó betgrade àti iléeṣẹ́ tó pọn tí mímu pẹ̀nà ricard ló ṣagbátẹrù ọ̀fẹ́ lówó wọlé o.
kò bá jẹ́ 24 29 tàbí 32 ṣáà ti fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wa lórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ kàn tẹ 32 FM 949 ẹ̀yẹ̀ fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Welcome back. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9. In case you're just joining us, we're looking at the debate regarding compulsory voting in the National Assembly during the week. We started the conversation with that before moving to the other segment where we'll be joining our guests on the show for today. It looks like Barrister is no longer on the call. So let me still stay with you, Prof. I mean, as you said, there's different literature regarding this subject of compulsory voting. And some supporters of this argue that, a democratic election of governing representatives is citizens' responsibility as opposed to a right. There is actually a duty of the citizen to come out and vote. They equate this to similar civic responsibilities like taxation in places where they practice the jury system, jury duty. Like if you're on jury duty, you must, take that responsibility, compulsory education, military service, and what have you. They say voting in this democracy is regarded as one of the duties of the of the citizen to the state, as mentioned in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, proponents of this view say that by introducing an obligation to vote, citizens governed by a democracy partake in the responsibility for the government appointed by the democratic election. So, what do you make of this argument in terms of it being a duty or responsibility as opposed to it being just a right? If it's a right, you're free to exercise that right. Prof? Hello, Prof.
There are two perspectives of citizenship regarding all of these rights. There is the Aristotelian perspective that says that you are a citizen if you actively participate in the decision-making process. But the more dominant liberal perspective, which we find, and that's certainly the intention of the United Nations, is really that you have the rights, but you also have the freedom to exercise it or not. Because it's right. We talk about the privacy of the citizen. That's why even when you vote, your vote is supposed to be anonymous. It's not supposed to be open ballot. It's supposed to be secret ballot. So the idea is the decision to vote and who to vote for is purely an individual decision, and it's an exercise of the right. While the state has a duty to protect you, and you have certain specific duty, voting is not a fundamental duty that you should do out of compulsion. You are expected to, but you have that freedom either to vote or not to. For instance, if you don't even think that your ideological school is even represented in the system, why would you vote? In fact, that's a big problem, because you are now being asked to make a choice even when you don't see any option. That itself is a big blow to democracy, because you can decide not to vote and use the opportunity to campaign for an alternative party perspective that you can then bring into existence. So the whole idea of compulsory voting is good for mobilizing vote, but the context matters a lot, especially in a context like ours, where poverty is very strong. Now you want to force people to move from their place to go somewhere and vote. Will you pay the cost of transport? We talk about universal basic education. How many schools are roofed in this state? How many teachers are well paid? How many teaching facilities are available in those schools? Because we all remember what the UB talks about is free, universal, and compulsory education. So don't we still see young people who are supposed to be in the classroom on the street? What has the state been able to do about them? Because their parents can't afford to keep them in school, because they simply can't pay transport fare, they can't give them food while at school, and they have to work for their parents so they can eke out a living. So you remember the incident in Lagos Island, where the woman got there, and is it about 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, and the daughter was helping out in sweeping the street.
Yes.
And people were raising issues. So this is the context in which we are talking about. So for me, the idea of compulsory voting is a far cry from the challenges that we are facing today. I think they should make access to basic income compulsory for Nigerians first. If they can do that, and Nigerians are able to meet their basic needs, then they can go towards compulsory voting. Let them go to Australia and see the condition of ordinary citizens in Australia, and then they can be looking to Australia for compulsory voting if they have also been able to meet the basic needs of Nigerians. That for me is the greatest poser that I'll put to those men and women in the National Assembly. I think they are missing it.
Right. Okay, let's go to Barrister. I mean, Barrister, there are those who also argue that, in a democracy, if you do not come out and vote, it is more dangerous for you because, you're leaving it, the choice to they call it tyranny of the majority. Because what's going to happen is that just a group of people are going to decide how your life is going to be, or how, the economy of the country is going to be for the next 4 years. If you take the last election, for instance, the president won by just about 8 million, in fact, the lowest since 1999 in terms of presidential elections. So that means that just about 8 million people voted the person who is determining the next 4 years or thereabout of how the country is going to be. So the point is, it is rather dangerous to be discouraged and not want to participate in the system, because you're empowering that very few majority to decide, the fate of the country eventually. Barrister.
Yes, thank you very much, Toba. Sorry for the little glitch experience from my end. Like Professor Oloyede, I also want to apologize. For me, I don't go cry. Yes, I think Prof has done justice to the questions you asked. But let me take it a little further. I have always advocated for medical examinations for our public office holders. Right now, it appears these legislators have been infected with ingravescent idiopathy. The bill in question, in my candid opinion, is the most ignominious bill that has ever come from that infamous chamber. Now, I want to take you into the Constitution to show you how unconstitutional the proposal contained in that bill can be. If you look at Section 38 of the Constitution, it provides for the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. And then if you go to Section 40, it provides for peaceful assembly and association. In other words, that Nigerians can come together under an association called No Voting Association. So what's their problem? Let me take you to the Electoral Act of 2022. Part 7 of that Electoral Act created offenses, from Section 114 to Section 128. What have we made of those provisions? Even when the faces of those who behaved so disorderly at elections, those who wrought violence on the people, macheted voters, what did we make from the provisions of the Electoral Act? How many of those people have been prosecuted and convicted? What we see is that the ringleader of the group in Lagos now occupies a very vantage position in Abuja. Can't you see what a joke these people are? Like Prof rightly said, the conditions necessary for Nigerians to exercise their right, not a duty, and you can waive your right if you so wish. That is the provision of the law. But those conditions are not there. So you want them to be macheting people, beating people up, and Nigerians should come out nevertheless to come and cast their votes. Something is fundamentally wrong with this country. It is not at a time like this that the legislature will choose to be playing games. There are more serious issues on ground for them to concentrate on how to relieve Nigeria of the burden on its head. Not all these ones that they are doing. I think they really need to see their doctors. One knee problem gone.
Oh, okay, so I think let's quickly move away from the National Assembly now. Before I go into the interview of the day, by the way, I had a conversation with the Diadeyanju sometime last week, and I'll be playing you that interview very shortly. He spoke about a wide range of issues, from the arrest of his client, very dark man, operations of the EFCC, the judiciary, the recent defection of politicians from the opposition into the ruling party, concerns about a one-party state and what have you. So we'll go into that very shortly. I just want to get Prof's thoughts on, because I planned to bring it on earlier. That's what Barrister talked about regarding the glitch experience in JAMB. And Prof, I'm bringing this up because the university system is your terrain, is your constituency. A lot of conversation during the week about what played out, the admission by the JAMB registrar, Professor Ishaq Oloyede. There are those who say, look, looking at the JAMB that he inherited from Professor Jibo Jerinde, that examination body has seen tremendous improvement. That's the argument that, going forward, he has taken responsibility, that this is something very rare among public office holders in Nigeria, that the fact that it has even come out shows a lot of character on his part, that we can now, try to look for ways to reform the examination body. On the other side, there are those who say, no, he should resign. As a matter of fact, JAMB should be scrapped and universities should be given the autonomy to conduct their own assessment, although they still conduct, post-UTME and everything, but that they should conduct their own assessment based on the O-level results that candidates submit to the university. So, Prof, this is your terrain. Please, what do you make of all of these issues?
Yeah, I think that one of the things we are living with is the very fact that change and even improvement in administration can come with its own pitfalls. As we have seen from the introduction of technology into the electoral process, you see, when you digitalize, you also have to pay attention to cyber security and all kinds of cyber security. And one mistake can be very costly. Because if you look at what Oloyede has done over the years, you will see that a lot of improvement in terms of the organization of JAM, in terms of the timeliness of announcement of results, in terms of the reliability of the outcome of the result, and so on and so forth. And he has often was eloquent, beating his chest about his achievement, which is something significant. But you see, as the process becomes more digitalized, then of course issues of security becomes a problem. And that's what has happened in this case. It's like somebody who has worked very hard, and on the twilight of his departure from office, he encounters a great problem that threatens to make nonsense of all his achievements. It is also good that he has accepted the responsibility for it, but I think the last time the news I heard is that they are going to conduct fresh
exams, yes,
for those who have been determined to be involved. And I think that's the right thing to do. If there's a mistake, if there's an error in the process, and you admit it, and you make remedial measures to address it, that's fine. I think the only problem is being over dramatic, like crying on television. I think that was completely uncalled for. And probably he's a man, he's an emotional person. That's probably why. But the real issue is the remediation of the problem, which is for which, of course, JAM is currently on course. So I would say kudos to him, but it is not just about remedial that he should also be concerned about. He should also be concerned now about preventing the reoccurrence of that incident. Whether he's still there or not, it is his responsibility to put whatever he can in place to ensure that a reoccurrence is prevented. And from previous experience, we know that JAM has sufficient resources to be able to prevent such an occurrence.
Yeah, what on the other argument about whether JAM has outlived its relevance, maybe universities should now be, given the responsibility to carry out their own assessment of candidates, on their own. No central examination body anymore.
Nigeria is a very complicated place, and sometimes I'm not eager to just jump from one approach into another one. We need to find out what makes JAM anachronistic, because again, and what is it established to achieve, whether it is no longer useful for that purpose. For the universities, I think they've sufficiently shown that they are not, they do not have sufficient confidence in the JAM, in the outcome of JAM, and that's why they do post-UTME. But I think it is out of negotiation that the Vice Chancellors agree that it's better to do a post-UTME than to scrap JAM completely. I think that the process adds some kind of checks and balances between JAM and the universities. And one very important thing that we must note is that JAM is still the one admitting, not directly by the universities. And for me, one of the important role that JAM plays is the data that we have. It makes it very easy for us to talk about admissions, for us to talk about the number of candidates, the number of those who have applied and those who are not. If you decentralize completely, I tell you, it will be difficult to even have an idea what number of students we have in the universities, because record keeping can be very, very, very difficult. And remember, if you want to remove JAM completely, we must also look at what is happening in the universities. Many universities can't even provide transcripts on record time for their students. So we don't want to, complicate matters by simply removing JAM and then creating a situation where we don't even know who is applying and who is admitted and who is not. And then we also don't have an idea the spread of these candidates, which part of the country they are from. And so I think even for the purpose of record keeping alone, I would say that we should keep JAM. And then, of course, JAM also stop abuses from the universities. This admission from the under the table that are so common. Again, you see JAM saying, certain universities are not following rules and regulations. So Nigeria is a very complex place, and in places where you think, integrity will hold sway, you find that integrity is not there. I mean, for instance, J.B.J. thought, if you have professors announcing election results, chances are that the integrity of this process will be uplifted. we have a situation where you have some professors already being jailed, and people are now put into question, or what is the benefit of actually using professors. In fact, I've attended meetings of civil society where the whole idea of professors announcing being returning officers is ridiculed, as a farce in terms of the expected integrity. So I will not just say remove JAMB. I will say let's look at the situation critically.
Right.
Because the devil is in the detail.
Yes. Barrister, you want to quickly chime in on the conversation as well?
Yes. Thank you very much. I adopt wholeheartedly the submissions of my noble prof. For those who are calling for the scrap of JAMB, they probably do not know the disease of the Commonwealth that led to the emergence of JAMB. As far as I am concerned, I think JAMB has done fairly well, and they need to be commended. I also do agree that there is room for improvement. However, the recent glitches revealed something very fundamental, and that is the fact that JAMB is not in synergy with the other examination bodies, particularly WAEC and NECO, and that is not good enough. It probably informs why we're now having a situation of overlap between examinations to be taken for WAEC and the receipt UTME exam. So I think these are areas that JAMB and the other examination bodies should look to and work towards resolving. I do agree that it would have been a plus writing WAEC and JAMB exam together if there is no overlap, because the children would then be able to kill two birds with a stone. So I think there is the need for a synergy between between JAMB and the other examination bodies. As for the universities, like Prof rightly said, the question of integrity, confidence in the system, credibility appear to have waned so much that we now have to look to an external body to conduct the admission process into universities. But all in all, I think Professor Oloyede has done very well. Let me give you one joke that was sent to my space on social media. It said, JAMB experienced glitches. They decided to rewrite exams. INEC experienced glitches. They announced the winner. I think INEC should learn a lesson from JAMB.
Okay. So, Prof, just on this subject very quickly, should we equate both, or the context is different? The INEC situation with the IREV issue in 2023 and the JAMB situation in 2025. Can we equate both?
No, I think we can, because we are still talking about the same kind of similar kind of technology. JAMB could also have said that the result is sacrosanct and that there's nothing they could do about it. Yeah, because that's literally the position of INEC, that it is not compulsory. They look for a loophole within the law, to justify themselves. I mean, they made regulations that they promised us would hold during the election. They couldn't live up to those regulations, and then they say it is discretionary, ex post facto. I mean, it's very, it's a slap on our faces. So I think that there's a sense in which, of course, the same thing we are talking about prevention, preventive measures to avoid those glitches. The same thing applies to INEC. And if you also look at the proposed amendment bills to the Electoral Act, you can now see that they are calling for the clarification of the position of transmission. To clarify it very clearly about what is meant when some of those provisions are made. They want to be more specific in terms of what can be done and what should be done. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a very similar kind of problem. And then the way through which INEC went around it was to say it's not compulsory, that there should be electronic collation of results. That the IRF is not designed to be part of the collation process. So I think that in the case of JAM, the man could have said it happened only in very few places, that it is insignificant to the outcome of the overall result. I mean, we've seen arguments like that. And if the man has said so and carried a bold faith, it would have gotten, because I don't know which court of law they are going to go to and get justice for a single year examination. So most people are likely to move on and write the next JAM. So I think that's why it's a mark of leadership.
Right.
That an event happened, those responsible for it took responsibility, and they conducted fresh examinations. There should have been something similar in the case of INEC.
Okay, so thank you, Prof. Now we'll go into my interview with Deji Adeyanju, the legal practitioner and human rights activist. I had an interview with him last week. I'll be playing you the interview. As I said earlier, we spoke about a range of issues, from the arrest of his client, popular social media activist, that's Very Dark Man, to issues in the judiciary, operations of the EFCC, defection amongst politicians, concerns about a one-party state, and what have you. So let's listen to the interview now. Thank you so much, Barrister Deji Adeyanju, for joining us on the podium today. So good to have you.
Yes.
Right. So let me start with the popular story that concerns one of your clients, Very Dark Man. His arrest by the EFCC generated a lot of controversy in the last couple of days. A lot of conversation across the country, both on the mainstream media and social media as well. Although the FCC, of course, released a press statement where they talked about the reason why they picked him up. Some say that this press statement was a bit vague. I mean, as his lawyer, do you think you have enough clarity as to why it was picked up in the manner it was picked up by the agency?
We still do not have full grasp of why he was even arrested in the first place. All effort to find out the real reason behind the arrest, our questions are still unanswered. Who are the people that petitioned him? Our questions are still not answered as regards that. Very Dark Man is a private and a personal citizen, not a public official. He's not an elected official. He's not an appointee of government. So, and the mandate of the EFCC is, simply put, is restricted to, as provided for in Section 6 of the EFCC Act, restricted to financial impropriety or otherwise, as the case may be, issues of money laundering, issues of failed banks, and other sundry issues. So I do not know whether they can act ultravise their powers. But be that as it may, we will not want to debate these issues extensively because we do not have the full facts before us.
Yes, thank you. I mean, there are those who have interpreted it as, part of, according to them, what they describe as the dictatorial tendencies of the government trying to silence dissenting voices and critics. There are those who say this might also be one of the strategy by the government of the day. Do you share that sentiment as well?
Well, I wouldn't say that people who have expressed this, assertions are not correct, 100% correct. But, as lawyers, we only deal with facts. The full facts are not before us. the EFCC have not come forward to say, because you see the Constitution is explicitly clear that immediately someone is arrested, the first thing you do is to tell him, show him the allegations against him. Many people have seen that the very dark man made a video yesterday, which he posted about him being a mugshot of him was taken, and money laundering was written on the mugshot, and he made express reservations to those, because you cannot make someone to take a money laundering mugshot without you telling the person. You must have confronted him with the allegation. No such allegation was confronted with him at interrogation where our lawyers were present. So it seems to be a wishy-washy kind of thing. So we do not want to join issues at this stage until the full facts are now before us.
Right. I understand that, really. I understand that. I mean, but another thing that we can see is the fact that it was granted bail. At a point, we read in the papers that some of the bail conditions were too stringent. Can you tell us, you run us through the condition of
in
this
fact,
bail?
there was no condition whatsoever. The commission released him to me and just asked me to make an undertaking, which was done via an application that I wrote in my own hand, that I will produce him whenever it's needed. So there was practically no condition. Okay. And this is where I must also commend the chairman of EFCC, who I was engaging throughout the period. And he said, okay, I should come and take him on bail. So there was really no conditions. So anybody saying there are some stringent conditions, there were some conditions, that is completely not true.
No. Okay, so are you going to pursue this? Because from what you're saying, it looks like your client's rights were violated, the way he was picked up and imprisoned with no questions, no charges. Are you going to pursue this in court to seek redress for your clients?
Yes. Of course. We will not divulge or reveal our strategies on this matter. Again, the instruction of the client is what is supreme. We are currently conferring and deliberating with the client, and we are going to make sure that we follow the instruction of the client, and we also advise him appropriately.
Yeah, but away from Very Dark Man, speaking generally about the operations of the EFCC, is an agency that people have talked about for some time now, the way they arrest suspects, we saw the drama that played out with Yaya Bello. We saw, I think, Rochas Okorocha when his house was invaded. Do you think things like this, call for more advocacy in terms of restructuring the EFCC, reforming it to make it more viable instead of them operating the way that they do sometimes?
I agree, sincerely I agree. Every agency of government is run by citizens. Whether the agency tries to be hygienic, it is the level of hygiene of the citizenry who are members or officials of the commission of the agency that will determine the outlook that the agency will have. The EFCC is not an exception, whether it is the police and other security agencies in the country. They are run by Nigerians who are just generally badly behaved. You have seen the issue that you reference about the arrest of Yaya Bello. In fact, the theatrics, completely unnecessary, but, Yaya Bello did not conduct himself properly. Once an invitation has been extended to you, what are you running for? This is what we had said. The EFCC claimed online that they extended a letter of invitation to Very Dark Man. Very Dark Man never saw any invitation, not even, and they know that we are counsels to him. So if they had tried to reach him and they couldn't reach out to him, and they will have reached out to us, we will have produced Very Dark Man. The commission I would personally drive him and take him there. Because he has nothing to fear, he has nothing to run from, he's not a fugitive of law, he's not a criminal, he has never been a criminal, he will never be a criminal. So, but on the Yaya issue, EFCC has extended him the courtesy. So, EFCC was not unlawful or unruly in the Yaya instance. EFCC has extended him the courtesy of invitation severally. He had gotten the invitation, he just was acting like a rogue, he refused to come. They went to effect an arrest. He refused and escaped, and in a dramatic manner, yes, the other case reference on Rochas, very bad, where they had to be breaking into the roof and so many other things, and despicable stuffs. Those must be condemned, simpliciter, in my view.
Yes. I mean, you talked about your engagement with the EFCC chairman in all of this before your client was eventually released. Do you think under his leadership, is the EFCC exhibiting the traits that they actually want to sanitize the country and fight corruption head on from what you're seeing so far since his emergence as the chairman of the EFCC?
I'll say this chairman is trying a little bit more than the previous ones. I'll say that. For me, I genuinely feel that give or take, no matter how you look at it, that the attempt at hygiene is a continuous one. That there are some things, for instance, I'll give you a very vivid example of how much Nigerians hate the EFCC. You recall that when one of the officers was gunned down in the southeast, and Nigerians were jubilating and celebrating, and justifying it and saying that the EFCC break into people's homes in a commander way and all that, and that it was only few of us that were saying, come on, this man is also a Nigerian. He has just been killed. You don't go ahead to double down, even if the officers are guilty of this. You don't go doubling down and mocking a man who has died in active service. You understand why we do not make excuses for the excesses of EFCC and why we condemn them for saying, we also must not mock somebody who has died for the nation, and all that. So there is more that can be done by the current chairman, and it has to do about the psyche and the mentality of the officers who go out on the field. You can be in the office giving instructions, but what are your officers, your foot soldiers doing, out there? How do they relate with Nigerians? That because people have been accused or alleged to have committed a crime does not mean they are guilty. Yeah. And it's only in Nigeria that they arrest people before investigation, which was the same thing in a Very Dark Man's case. It was upon his arrest, they started searching his phone. They've been searching his phone since the day he was arrested till today. You are supposed to have investigated a person before you arrest him. You'll have established prima facie case against him. Then you bring him in. That's what is done in civilized and senile climes, All
right. Well, okay, let's move away from the FCC and the Very Dark Man. Let's go into the area of politics based on what we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks. Gale of defections everywhere with people expressing concern that we might be heading towards a one-party state. What do you make of some of these things that have unfolded in Delta State, the entire state structure of the PDP initially being collapsed to, defect into the APC? Ganduje, in fact, is saying that more governors will join very soon into the APC. What do you make of all of this unfolding?
You see, these politicians are not people that one should bank on. Politicians are generally speaking are unreliable. So whoever invests his credibility or emotions in anything that they are doing is just wasting his time. The greatest advice I have for people is that citizens should plan their life outside government, especially in countries like Africa. That you don't have systems or institutions that work. All you have is just strong men and powerful individuals all over the place. So in situations and cases like that, you must just, plan your life. These politicians are not different from one another. And I can assure you that in the current text of these defections of A and B, they are not ideologically inclined people, And I can also tell you that, the current opposition that we have in the country is practically non-existent, And I wish that there was truly an opposition in the country. I really wish that there was an opposition in the country, but there's none. And the way things are going, Tinubu is going to coast to victory with no just cause, Unfortunate, by this time, I do not expect that the articles and the Bs of this world will still be, at cause purpose. And the other political actors, the El-Rufais, all of them, plus their supporters, should come together, try to provide a credible opposition, for the country. But alas, is the case.
Yeah, I mean, the concern is huge for many people that we are heading towards a one-party state. In fact,
Yes,
the former
indeed.
president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, during the week had said that an accidental one-party state that comes through political manipulation can cause chaos and anarchy for the country. That's the concern many people have, that even if you want to plan your life, as you said, it looks like everything is being captured presently, you're still going to be affected by what happens in the country. So, I mean, this is a very concerning situation, Barrister.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed, one party state does not augur well for anyone and anybody. And anyone that does not see the danger that is being posed by the current APC regime is being economical with the truth. A situation where almost all the governors, the opposition governors, have defected to the APC. The ones that have not defected, they are still working for Tinubu. The PDP governors, even the Labour Party governor, 𝐿𝐿 was campaigning for Tinubu, aggressively campaigning for him, very unfortunate indeed,
Yeah,
and it does not tell well or augur well for the country.
It's beginning to look like, from what some people are saying, that is this indomitable politician that knows the game so well that he can weaken. Yeah, I mean, is that how you're seeing it?
Mastery of which game?
That's what some of his supporters are saying.
Mastery of the game. Why can't you not use the mastery to develop the country? Mastery of the game in ensuring defections. Is that what the mastery of the game is all about? We just have weak politicians who have no ideology, who lack discipline and decorum, who do not sincerely care about the people. All they care about is self. That's why you can see someone will be contesting election after election. And he knows, because they are not politically naive people, he knows that he cannot win. He knows that he cannot win. Are you telling me Peter will be a two-time governor that has sat in security meetings, that understands the election? You are telling me that he did not know that he cannot win somebody like Tinubu that has INEC, has security, has everybody, you understand, with a divided opposition. You are telling me that some of these things, we are not kids, for God's sake. We are not kids.
Yeah,
they can be deceiving their supporters, but not people like us.
Oh, okay, because Peter Obi, for instance, his supporters still feel like he actually won the 2023 election. They feel he was cheated, out of the race by
Atiku supporters also feel that Atiku won the election, the 2023 election. Yeah, but who was announced? That's what, and it's not enough for you to just come and be shouting and be talking. In the end, what do you do? What do you do when elections are announced or rigged against you? What do you do in the end?
Yeah,
you complain and start shouting, not my president for 3 months. Then after that, you move on.
So it seems like you don't buy the arguments that he actually won that election, as claimed by many of his supporters, saying that
I don't buy
6 million votes. Yes,
I don't buy anything. Trust me, because I know these politicians, and these politicians are just completely hopeless. So I don't buy anything that they are doing. I think the majority of the things that they are doing is just for self-preservation and selfish interest.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the prospects of a coalition. It's something that has been in the public space for some time. In fact, people are referencing countries like Senegal, where they had an election that the opposition, won against incumbents, Ghana as well, I think Botswana, and they say, look, opposition needs to come together, bury their differences and their ambition, and come together to be able to do something meaningful in 2027. I mean, what do you make of this possibility? And are you enthusiastic about this? Yes.
Yes, by this time, the opposition should have completely be in one spot and one space. They should have been together by now. All their supporters collated in one direction, one singular direction. And that will not be enough. The election still has to be some form of a referendum, or a revolution, a political revolution of some sort. But they are not getting the message. That's just the truth. They are not getting the message. They think that maybe it's a Jonathan or a Buhari that is in power. They do not know that it is Tinubu that is in power. But eventually, with the way things are going, I believe that at the end of the 2027 election, everybody will get the memo.
Yeah, you sound like 2027 is a done deal already, Barrister. Like there's no need to contest that. The way the opposition.
No, there is.
It is a done deal. Yes.
No, there is a need to contest. Whether the opposition are willing to make the necessary sacrifices and do the dirty job and get their hands dirty is another thing. The way they are currently going, I don't think that they are ready. And I think that Tinubu is going to have a field day.
Okay, so let's talk about the Tinubu government, some of the things that they have done. You know, they continue to defend the policies, saying that this was needed, according to them, to salvage the country that was headed for, economic downturn before they took over. They talk about the fuel subsidy removal, floating of the naira. They talk about the tax reform bill that was signed, that was passed in the Senate recently. They make references to some of these things, saying that these are reforms that they are taking to set the country, to recalibrate the country and set it on the right path. What's your assessment of the government and the policies that they've made? It's going to be 2 years in a couple of days now. In a couple of weeks, May 29, it's going to be officially 2 years since he was sworn in as president.
Well, the truth of the matter is that this government will defend absolutely even the devil. There's nothing that they have done that they've gotten right in the last 2 years. They've balkanized the economy completely, destroyed the naira, taking suffering to unimaginable height, inflation to record high. The GDP of the country has been shrunk beyond recognition of any sort. And it's unfortunately, it's unfortunate that these things have happened, no matter how one views or look at them, and I'm quite perplexed that anyone in his right senses will even be talking of voting for the APC or supporting them. But this is Nigeria where anything goes.
I mean, from what you said, does it not even make it more disturbing as to ask the question, what is attracting these politicians to the APC in the first place? If some of these policies, as you have said, have failed or affected Nigerians negatively, what is the attraction, to that party for this policy? You are supposed to be capitalizing on these policies to, convince Nigerians against the ruling party.
Well, you see, the truth is, in Nigeria, everybody feels that they know it all politically, and everybody feels they don't need the other person. That is why you can see that even members of the opposition, they're in disunity, and they are still insulting themselves, even despite the errors and the mistakes they made in the last election. They still didn't learn anything whatsoever. No lessons was learned in the last election, and that's why they've persisted to make these mistakes and errors, most unfortunately indeed. So it's difficult to advise someone who does not want to be advised, or wake somebody who is pretending to be asleep.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that have been said also is the intolerance to criticism by this government. I remember Dr. Kemi Adesina, of the African Development Bank, AFDB, talking about the country's GDP, the way it shrank in the last 10, 15 years or thereabout, and the kind of response that the presidency gave, saying that it's trying to politicize the issues. So there are those who feel like, the government does not want to hear any kind of criticism or is intolerant to opposition, the way it responds to those who have an alternative view to its policies. That's number one. Number two, to those who also criticize it as well, there are allegations that the current government is, exhibiting some dictatorial tendencies. Do you share some of this sentiment as well, looking at how they've responded to those who have said things about some of their policies in the past?
Imagine even targeting Kemi Adesina. I'm trying to make a mockery of the obvious truth that he has said. Very laughable indeed. In fact, Kemi Adesina was even very kind to them. These guys have run the economy aground. There's practically nothing left now. Nothing left. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. That's the painful truth. And for me, I'm convinced in my mind that these guys, they didn't come to government to do anything. They just came to steal, to loot, and to destroy.
This is the controversy that we saw last month or thereabouts between the Senate President, 𝐃 Akpabio, and Senator Natasha Akpoti of Kogi Central Senatorial District. A lot of things have been said. Recently we saw one Professor Mbeke come out to say that Natasha was trying to use people to spread this false narrative. And I think I saw one of your press conferences as well, where you said you would like to see evidence and you'd like to see this issue treated as it should be. 𝐃 Akpabio yesterday said, it's not stepping down over a false allegation. What have you made of some of these things, especially as it affects the integrity of the highest legislative body in the country, the Senate?
He who alleges must prove. Let Natasha go and prove her sexual allegation and harassment against Akpabio. And if she wants us to help, let her bring the evidence. Let us, all of us, resume in National Assembly and sleep there until Akpabio is removed.
All right. Okay, so as we wrap up the interview, there are concerns about the judiciary. So trying to build trust and confidence in the judiciary.
Yes.
Especially you've been in the activism for many years and you decided to go into the law profession at the time when people say confidence in the judiciary is low. Talk to us about the kind of reform you'd like to see in the judiciary to restore confidence in it as the last hope of the common man.
Yes, when we're growing up and we're reading judgments of courts, you every page you turn is illuminating. Because as you are reading a judgment, that justice is going to be served. What makes law is the certainty of conclusion. The certainty of law, the ability for you to know that, when the law says A, the outcome of this ruling and this judgment is going to be A, not B or C. Today, when you are reading judgments of court, your heart is actually racing. You do not know the direction. You know what the law has said, but you do not know the direction the judgment might go. So that is the reason why people now have very low trust in the judiciary and even the legal profession as a whole. So it behoves on the judiciary and the legal profession to ensure that we get back that trust, the missing link, in the profession. And both on the bench and on the bar, we must ensure that as both litigants and as ministers in the Temple of Justice, that we do not do anything that will bring the judiciary or the legal profession into disrepute, by trying to compromise the integrity of the profession. For me, the kind of reforms I would love to see is digitalization of the process at the various courts, because it will reduce issues of underhand with people who are actively involved in filing of processes and having to look for ways around the procedural bottlenecks around the court system. Again, the issue of this idea of making election petition cases faster, while the nominal court dockets, people spend years and years awaiting trial. It doesn't seem to be fair that the politicians can get justice quickly, but the ordinary people cannot. You understand? So those are the kind of reforms we are looking for. Even if it means us increasing the chairs at the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and the Federal High Court, National Industrial Court, the State High Courts, and other courts of record, as the case may be, because our population is growing. But we are not. But the infrastructure for the judiciary is not growing. Yeah, we have to increase the number of Supreme Court judges because we need to cut out. Because these are human beings; they cannot be attending to thousands of cases per month. And the dockets of the Supreme Court is overcrowded. Because if I say it's full, it's an understatement. So we must indeed be pragmatic and be reasonable in reform. So that is my appeal and what I'm looking forward to.
Yes, and what about the issue of welfare of these judges, and how do we balance it? Because
welfare has improved. By and large, welfare has improved indeed, because it's no longer what it used to be. We are not where we ought to be, but I must say that welfare has improved. But we can do more in terms of welfare for almost all the judicial officers in the country, because look at the inflation issues. No, in my view, those Supreme Court judges should earn less than 100 million naira a month because of the level of work that they do and also the inflation. Because 100 million is the new 20 or 10 million naira. So that when they are adequately remunerated and paid, then the issue of collecting bribe and compromise will be eradicated. Same should apply for Court of Appeal judges, Federal High Court judges, High Court judges, judges of the National Industrial Court, and other sundry court of records. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, there are those who also say that how do you create a balance between a politician that is taking care of these judges, quote unquote, like Nyesom Wike, for instance, we saw the, quarters he built for the justices and some of the controversy that trailed it. And he said, look, this is just a way of taking care of them. So is this a kind of inducement or a way of, ensuring that these judges live in good condition? Because when you have an individual...
Of course, it is inducement. The judiciary is capable of taking care of itself. The judiciary has a budget. If the judiciary needs a house, they can as well build a house for themselves. If they need a lodge, they can as well build a lodge for themselves. You don't need politicians to be trying to, prevent or compromise the judiciary. It makes no sense whatsoever. Unfortunately now I'll need to go and I have a meeting to attend to.
It's all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barrister, for joining us on the show. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's our conversation with Deji Adeyanju, legal practitioner and human rights activist. I could not stay for so long. As you heard, he needed to attend to a meeting, but he spoke about a wide range of issues. You can join the conversation, 0705 5000 949 or 89 7000 949. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You can also call 0906 2000 949. You can drop your comment on Facebook, 32FM 949 Fenya. Drop your comments there to be a part of the conversation. So let's get the thoughts of our panelists. Let me start with Barrister, because I think he ended the conversation with his assessment of your area, and that's the judiciary. Barrister, what do you make of this submission regarding reforms that you expect in the judiciary, issue of inducement of the judges, and how to restore confidence, basically, in that very key institution of democracy? Barrister.
Yes, sir. Toba, yes. Thank you very much. I think Deji made some very valid submissions. For instance, it is a concluded position of our court up to the Supreme Court that you cannot stop the police from conducting investigation as provided for under the Police Act. On defections, I think it remains an unsettled law given the controversial decisions from the court and the refusal of the court to rely on established principles in deciding later cases. For instance, while the Constitution makes provisions relating to defections with respect to legislators, there is an obvious lacuna in the Constitution by the non-inclusion of a similar fate for defecting president and or governors. It is, however, sad that the Supreme Court, as a policy court, abreast of the negativity of defections, continues to hold tenaciously to what I call a preterite position, despite the evident damage to the democratic process, as shown in its recent decision on the 27 lawmakers of Rivers State. Defections, as shown by the Constitution, appears to rob Peter to pay Paul, And the Supreme Court, as a policy court, ought to be bold enough to so hold and serve the deserving consequences for defections on defectors as provided by law. So I think Deji's point is very well taken on this ground. As for what transpired between the EFCC and the
very dark man,
the very dark man, I wish Deji was here, because I would have asked. There was a report of a controversy between himself and Falana. I would have loved to ask him if there was any Ajumogobic, situation, around that area.
Yeah.
But did you escape me this morning?
Okay, let me go to Prof. I mean, regarding this very dark man situation, it also brings to the fore a lot of things regarding how people are arrested, how they are kept in custody. And some people say, look, this is making the news. This made the news because of the personality of very dark man. There are all the other, citizens of the country that have gone through such, arrested without any clear indication of the charges they are facing. It's when they're arrested that their phones are searched, looking for evidence, and they're kept in custody for God knows how long. There are several cases like that, people, who have been victim, of something like this. What do you make of this, especially in the context of, ensuring that people's rights are not violated? Prof.
Yeah, when he was arrested, and then the EFCC released that initial statement that they are with him and that they are going to prefer multiple charges against him, I was actually looking forward to it. And then suddenly the EFCC had no charges again. So for an organization of the status of EFCC to make a claim, to promise to do that, to declare that it's going to do something, because you can't declare that you are going to bring somebody on multiple charges if you have not already started working on the charges and you have found some of them. Now, for them to then turn around and say, okay, the guy is released, it's embarrassing, if not to them, but at least to me. Then secondly, when
Prof, hold that thought, sir. We need to take this commercial break. Hold that thought. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9. You stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Mr. Teacher, please, what happens when children come to school? How is it that they leave home very neat and return looking so different?
Non-stop action, ma. All the learning and sports burn energy. So those sweat stains, dirty uniforms and shoes, they show that your kid has been very active.
Now, wow.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Milo. Ọjọ́ wo ni pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣìn àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn ọmọdé tí iléeṣẹ́ 32 FM? Oṣù karùn-ún lélẹ́yìí. 32 FM dà. Ṣé a lè ṣe àyájọ́ àwọn ọmọdé láìsí 32 FM ni?
Agbọ́ yín, a sì mọ èrò ọkàn yín. Ẹ kú ti mọ̀ wá tẹ́lẹ̀. A dúró tán, a sì ní já yín kulẹ̀. Ṣẹ́yìn náà ti wá ṣetán fún ayẹyẹ àti pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣìn àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn ọmọdé tó máa kílẹ̀ gbìgbìgbì jùlọ nílùú Ìbàdàn. Smart Kids and Parents Hangout Season 7 tí yóò wáyé ní Palms Mall Ring Road nílùú Ìbàdàn lọ́jọ́ Sunday ọjọ́ karùndínlọ́gbọ̀n oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2025 Sunday May 25th 2025. Ó ti máa dùn jù. Àwọn ohun ìṣeré fún àwọn ọmọdé bíi Bouncing Castle tó fún ìgbọ̀ngbọ̀n tí yóò mú káwọn ọmọdé fò fáyọ̀ yóò wà ní ìkàlẹ̀. Kíkọ ojú lọ́nà àrà tí yóò mọ̀ dẹ́rìn pẹ̀kẹ́ àwọn ọmọdé. Eré ọpọlọ, ijó, orin, ẹ̀fẹ̀, ẹ̀rín kéékèèké lẹ́nu àwọn ọmọ. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn daddies and mommy wọ́n á máa kópa nínú eré lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún 5 náírà péré 5,000 naira ńlọ́wọ́ ìwọlé. Èyí wà lẹ́ni òsì nǹkan. Láti ra tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì, ṣagbátẹrù tàbí fún àlàyé síwájú ẹ pè Sùnbọ̀ sórí nọ́mbà yìí 0704 017 4981 tàbí Bọ́láńlé sórí nọ́mbà yìí 0810 067 2518. 32 FM 94.9 Ìbàdàn ló ṣagbátẹrù ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àjọṣepọ̀ Rigorous Games. Ọmọ tèmi ò ní gbẹ̀yìn.
Golden Chance Lotto tún ti dé pẹ̀lú ìfà oníbejì fún ẹ̀yin oníbàárà wa tẹ́ dúró tì wá. Bí Golden Chance Lotto ṣe ń ṣílẹ̀kùn pẹ̀lú ọ̀ṣàrà ẹ̀bùn fún yín bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ṣe ń ta géèmù wa lọ́jọ́ Sunday. Blessing àti Prosper gan ni adùn ọjọ́ ìsinmi. Ta àwọn géèmù wa pẹ̀lú àwọn tuntun tá a ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ gbé dé. Kó scan QR code sticker wa láti jẹ ẹ̀bùn lẹ́yẹ ọ̀ṣọ́ka. Kò tán síbẹ̀ o. Tó o bá ta tó ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà àádọ́ta 50,000 naira. O lè láǹfààní láti jẹ àwòyanu ẹ̀bùn níbi yìí kó tó wà. Géèmù wa Better Life àti àwọn àkọ́tún fún ọjọ́ ìsinmi Sunday náà wà ní sẹpẹ́. Aago méjì kù ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún ni Better Life ń close. Tí èsì rẹ̀ ó sì máa jáde láago méjì. Blessing close láago mẹ́ta kọjá ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún. Tí èsì rẹ̀ yóò sì máa jáde láago mẹ́ta àbọ̀. Tí Prosper náà sì ń close láago márùn-ún kọjá ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún. Tí èsì rẹ̀ yóò sì máa jáde láago márùn-ún àbọ̀. Ẹ lè ta Golden Chance Lotto láwọn ilé ìtajà wa káàkiri tàbí kẹ́ ẹ kàn sí www.goldenchanceloto.com. Tó o bá ní data tàbí ò ń lo fóònù kékeré ìwọ kàn tẹ *7005# lórí ìlà MTN. Ó rọrùn láti ta géèmù wa kó o jẹ kó o sì gbowó rẹ̀ láìsí lọ kábọ̀. Àdéhùn àti àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ ń bẹ o. Golden Chance Lotto.
Ẹ̀yin fans mi.
It's okay.
Ẹ lọ sórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ ní 32FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀
ASAP. It's okay.
Every day when my children return from school, I don't recognize them. Hello, do I know you?
It's us, mommy.
But these dirty, sweaty uniforms and socks, we're clean in the morning. Everything don't transform. I understand though, school is hectic. It takes energy to come home this transformed. So I make sure they have some nutritious Milo at breakfast.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Welcome to Bet Great. Bet on sports. Confirm bonus up to 350% and stand a chance to win with Bet Great. You can cash out and auto cash out whenever you want. So you're always in charge. Now casino game you want? You can pilot yourself with Bet Great on Aviator and much more. And be in cruise control. Join using promo code GOAL and get your welcome free bet. Experience these and much more in our shops or online on betgreat.com. Be great. Bet Great. Bet responsibly. Only 18 plus.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Welcome back. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9. Remember, we're live on Facebook, 32 FM 949 Fenya. Prof, before that break, you were about to make a second point regarding what Deji Adeyanju said in that interview. Prof.
Yes, I was saying that if you look at the outcome of that incident, many people think that it was just a distraction created by the government, to take Nigerians out of their lamentations, to once again not focus on government and to focus on the side event. That's why they've taken a very dark man out, and then it becomes a hype. And people are talking about it, they're talking about demonstrating. It was like a moment of distraction from the regular bashing of the government. And lastly, people think that it is not ideal that you pick people up and then you prefer no charges against them and then release them, and the person is not suing for them, because to many people's surprise, very dark man came out and started saying that he's friends with EFCC. And at some point, he started saying, threatening that they took a picture of him in which there was a poster accusing him of money laundering or something like that. And he said if they put that picture out, he's not going to take it kindly with them. And I'm wondering, what kind of interaction could this have been? So it's a very bizarre kind of incident in a liberal democratic system. So it's bewildering that we are passing through this kind of behavior in a democratic state. Meanwhile, this same FCC, starts a corruption case against one politician or any other politically exposed individual, and then suddenly it stops. So in fact, it tells a lot about the character of the current EFCC. Remember the Bello incident?
Yes.
So I don't think the FCC has played its games so low since we have entered democratic rule. Under this regime, it has become a ridicule. So I don't know how they think that they are going to redeem their image until this government goes away.
So Prof, it means you disagree. You disagree with Deji when he said that this ESC chairman appears to be different, compared to the others that have occupied the office. Like it appears because
it is what? How is it different? No, I see different. What particular case has he really persecuted to a logical conclusion concerning politically exposed persons? And then in any case, if you also look at the depth of gratitude that he owes to the current president, you will not even expect much in any case. Now, okay, maybe it has succeeded in locking up, what's that woman's name or man's name? Bobrisky. Look, or is it Obi Kubana that was taken, or is it that was then, or E-Money, I can't remember, one of them.
Yes.
Taken, then released. So I mean, the EFCC, for me, under this government, has proven to be a joke.
Okay, so Prof, I'm still staying with you. He spoke about the yes,
like the previous FCC.
Yes.
The only thing they do with that you can say point to is the way they deal with those fraudsters, and that's it's not peculiar to this particular regime. If you go to even Farida, all of those, they have always had a good run with all these people. But even then, if you go to their branch offices in the state, you see all kind of transactional relationship between them and all these so-called Yahoo boys. So there's a lot that meets the eye when it comes to EFCC.
Right. Let me still stay with you, Prof. Let's go into a submission regarding the defection, regarding what is happening in the opposition and the ruling party as well. I think one statement he made is that some of this opposition don't realize that they're actually going up against Bola Tinubu in 2027, that they think it's somebody like Yar'Adua or Jonathan that they're going up against. What do you make of that statement, especially if you look at, what people have said regarding the kind of state capture that is going on, under the president?
In fact, it's right on point. I mean, look at the political sphere, what's going on there. Because many members of the opposition party, especially those who are in government, have a lot of skeleton in their cupboard. They are being blackmailed. And so what they are all doing, in order to free themselves from such a threat, they just move into the APC. And then they have a clean bill of health. So have you ever seen close to very far from elections, and then you see all these PDP governors jumping ship? It's amazing. Usually this time they should be rallying around, trying to see how they can recover their party and get a good candidate for the next election. But what you see, because the governors used to be the backbone of the parties now. But now they have all chickened out, like everybody else. They are just jumping ship and joining the. But of course, their grandfather, or what do you call their godfather, or their grandmaster, YUSUF himself, is more or less an APC person. So G5 or G4, we call them from
G5,
from
yes.
the PDP. Yes, where are they?
Yeah. I mean, okay.
Presidential candidates have become members of APC. So the thing is, they are not just. It is those outside government that are interested in wrestling power, but those who are in government are trying to save their neck because this government is already holding them, by the jugular, due to the EFCC and other sundry agencies of government. So he's completely right that this president is not a joke. If he says you grab it, you snatch it, you run with it, then when he has no power, and now that he has power, he's not even going to give an inch to the opposition. So all their sources of support and strength, that is the incumbent governors, which traditionally is actually they are actually the backbone of the PDP. He's already making mincemeat of each one of them. And once that is done, tell me what is left. So that's why he's saying all this so-called coalition or whatever they have, it's just a joke. Because the real strength that they have has already been taken away.
Oh, okay, let me go to Barrister. Yeah, there are those who have argued that, look, this thing, It's not something we've not seen before, right? They say this whole one-party state, maybe it's an exaggeration. At some point in this country, the PDP ruled over 20 states, out of 36. And at that point, they were even saying that the PDP was going to rule the country for 60 years. They were saying that the PDP was the largest party at the time in Africa. But eventually, the PDP, collapsed and they lost the 2015 election, and it's not been able to get itself together since then. Whatever is happening now, that the APC is extending its influence across different states, it's not unusual that every political party wants to gather as many followers as possible, and it's not intended to create a one-party state whatsoever. That's just an exaggeration. What do you make of that argument?
Toba.
Yes, sir.
What Prof has said is also my position. And please, don't compare oranges with apples. The situation under the PDP is not the same as what we are seeing now under APC. Now, Prof made a reference to the conduct of the EFCC, particularly lately. There are allegations that the present administration is using the EFCC as its attack dog, hunting and hounding politicians who have infractions against the law. And like Oshomole said, if they have sinned, they should come to to APC. They sound almost the same and become saints. But let me say this. I am going into the Constitution.
Right.
I would like to crave your indulgence.
Go ahead, please.
This Constitution, according to Section 1, subsection 1 thereof, is supreme, and its provisions shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Subsection 2 thereof provides, the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or group of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof, except in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. If any other law is inconsistent with the provisions of this Constitution, the Constitution shall prevail, and that other law shall, to the extent of its inconsistency, be void. Now, one-party state is the antithesis of the 1999 Constitution. Anyone who mouths it offends the Constitution and trenches the path of treason. It is just as simple as that.
Let me add.
Okay,
that,
Prof.
What we're actually experiencing is not a one-party state. It is actually something being done in the name of APC. I mean, look at the elections in Lagos. APC is turned against itself. So there's really no party. It's a one-man rule. It's personal rule. It's an individual who has taken over the machinery of the party, taken over the machinery of the government, and is doing what he likes to perpetuate himself in power. Using government institutions as he deems fit. The National Assembly is captured, not by APC, it's captured by the presidency. The judiciary is not captured by APC, it's captured by the presidency. So that's what we are confronting. The fact is really that you don't have the APC as a party that's determining what's going on. Because you can't stand as a candidate without a political party. That's why it must be under the APC. So everything has to be done in the name of APC. But it's not APC. It's the presidency that is in charge.
Prof,
yes.
Please, let me corroborate what you have said.
Yes.
Because this has also been my own argument. Do you know why insecurity has become so rife again, it is because of this president who has chosen to romance the military in the preservation of his administration and not doing the needful. I so allege, because you can see all the financial inducements that are going to the generals, rather than, confronting the insecurity, the mammoths of insecurity that is plaguing the land. Now, our generals are romancing the billionaires. They are building mansions rather than protecting our territory. The junior officers are being starved of their needs. There is sabotage. And like Adeoju said, intel gathering in Nigeria is zero. If the president is truly desirous in fulfilling the provisions of Section 14, subsection 2B, the chiefs or army chiefs presently ought to have been sent packing because they are not doing what they should do. Same goes for the Inspector General of Police, but he is trying to secure his administration and they have to sacrifice Nigerians. That is the truth, whether you like it or not.
Right. Okay, you can call us 0705 5949, 0906 2000 949, 0906 2000 949, 0809 7000 949. Those are the numbers if you want to be a part of the conversation. You can also drop your comment on Facebook, 32FM 949 Fenye. I have a comment here. Okedun Abatune says, anyone is free to join any political party. It is just that endeavor to vote your candidate of your choice in the next election. Are people even ready to vote? The cost of many things are on the increase. Hence, people are just looking for means to survive, especially to eat. He says, Jam and Post UTME have come to stay. It can be scrapped so as not to take the job away from Nigerians. Jam should just endeavor not to post students far away. Miriam Yetunde says, good morning. Regarding the bill passed on voters, I hope the penalties will apply equally to everyone, including security agencies, politicians to engage in vote buying, and INEC officials to ensure a free and transparent electoral process. Okay, yeah, that. Thank you for your comment. Let me see if we can take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
John Olaruwaju is speaking from Ogunpa. My own take is this. Let me start from the jump. Well, I understand and I'm very happy with the submission of the vote analysis. But my own feel is this. Let's assume that, okay, the jump is still processing, still continue. When we are in a situation whereby it seems like we have 3 exams or 4 exams that the students have to sit before they will get admission into university. First is YEC, second is NECO, the third is JAM. Even the fourth one is post-UTME. Don't we look at that it's getting too much on the edge of the students? If you look at all those developed countries, can we trace all the things that happen in our country here? In a situation whereby, if you see in Nigeria that is looking for the admission in UK or US or Canada, only WAEC that will even qualify them to get any university in UK. Even after he finishes there, when he brings the certificate to Nigeria, they will even give recognition down to the ones that even study here. What are we talking about? I think we need to look at all these indices. It's like it's killing the students where I see it. Let us have a standard education that we, in those days, even our professors are talking there. They don't sit for the jam. And today it's professor. I do very well. So we need to look at all those indices, all those things in our education. And finally, on the issue of transfer from one party to another party, to me, it's not about APC like the professor rightly said. It's about a woman. Look at Cameroon. A woman is controlled. Since how many years? That's the beginning of the things that is coming to Nigeria if care is not taken. Thank you and good morning.
All right, thank you. 075 5000 949 0829 7000 949 0906 2000 949. Facebook 32FM 949. Like, share, drop your comment as well. Okay, let me go to a prof again. Looking at the concerns about one party. So of course you said, okay, let me take this call. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. This is Onolapo Kazim.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Firstly, I want to talk about the issue of JAM.
Okay.
To me, what we can do is this. We need to streamline the admission stuff for all the universities. Now, let each of the universities, let them have a functioning CBT centers where every candidate will be able to write the exam. Let's take out all these private facilities. Are we getting it? Yeah. Then if any fault comes, they will be able to trace such fault to any of the universities that is used as a center. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Because some of these universities, for instance, now let them have a 2,000 capacity or where a 2,000 candidate at a time will be able to write the test. They will be able to sit for this CBT and everything will go on like that. Then this issue of writing the test by 6:30 a.m. that is one of the wicked things to have happened. Even there was a time when my younger brother wanted to write his own. I followed him to Abeokuta from Ibadan here. Even we slept in a hotel just because he wanted to write the UTM then, almost 4 years ago. But let these universities, let them be the one that will be conducting it. Let them have CBT centers. Enough of using their private facilities. Then the particular deal that the National Assembly is proposing that whoever fails to vote. To me, I wrote one article where I said failures of a failing government. One of the failures of a failing government is when you promise the citizens that you want to do this during your electioneering and you fail to do it, you are the political apathy. It means the whole system has failed us. The legislature, the executive, and even the judiciary. They are now telling the Nigerians that they must vote by vote. Let them keep all of us, let them put all of us in jail. We will know what to do. God help us.
Thank you. All right, 0906 2009 0829 7000 Okay, so Prof, I was going to go back to the issue of one-party state. I'd like to make reference to a quote to the former credited to the former President Goodluck Jonathan. He spoke at an event in honor of late Chief Edwin Clark, elder statesman who passed away some weeks ago. So he was speaking on the subject of a one-party state and this defection that we've seen. Let me just quote that. It says, yes, a one-party state may not be evil after all, because Julius Nyerere of Tanzania used the one-party state to stabilize his country in the early days. Okay, let me take this and then I'll go back to that question. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, this is Jenga Mario calling from Apata.
Go ahead.
May God bless journalists in the studio in Jesus' name. Thanks for the good job well done. Now, in the course of the week, I read a report of a service member telling us how much the honorables are collecting as their allowance. The Senate chambers, they are collecting, each of them are collecting over 2 billion naira as a constituency allowance, while the representatives, they are collecting over 1.something billion naira as their allowance. Now, they will go to their constituency and they will be drilling boreholes, they will be installing street lights, and they will be commissioning it. How much does that equate? How much does that equate? That billions of naira that they are collecting. And the USC are not going after them to take them and tell them how far they have spent the money. And we that we Nigerians that are in trouble, they say they want to arrest us, they want to jail us. To our analysis, the law. It does not make sense at all. I want you to please justify that as number one. Then number two, the very that man that was arrested. So he's a Nigerian, if it's just something that is able, I think it should be arrested and questioned. But how much about those Nigerians who have stolen billions of naira and they are still walking there on the street and nothing has been done to them? The evidence is yesterday. Nothing has been done to him. They are in the course of the week. He was trying to tell us that the court was the allegation of the money laundering against him. And nothing has been done on that. We have so many of them. Look at Okokowa, the former governor of Delta State. He was having the issue with SPLC amounting to about 2 billion naira. And he has gone to APC now, and now it is changed. I want the law to please explain to me, is there justice, right justice in this country? Because I don't know. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So, Prof, let me quickly go back to that quote, and then Barrister can also respond to the caller. Okay. Yeah. So. Okay. Hello. I think I'm getting a feedback. I don't know. Prof. Okay. I think there's a feedback from your end. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about former President Goodluck Jonathan, what he said at that event in honor of late Chief Edwin Clark. He says, if we must, as a nation, adopt one-party system, they must be designed, planned by experts, and we must know what we're getting into. But if we arrive at it through the back door by political manipulation, then we're heading for a crisis. Prof, what do you make of this? I mean, he's saying, look, we've seen examples of one-party state. It's not like it's a bad idea. In fact, the Communist Party in China has been there. Xi Jinping is practically, life president in China right now. When they hold their congresses, they decide what's going to happen for the country, and it's been like that for many years. It's perhaps the most powerful president in China since Mao Zedong. So, Prof, what do you make of Goodluck Jonathan's argument regarding one-party state, saying Julius Nyerere of Tanzania did it? It's not a bad idea, but it's just bad if you are doing it through political manipulation.
Yeah, I think it was always a bad idea in Africa. It's not only in Tanzania. At independence, there were arguments that multi-party democracy was too divisive, and that that division is usually along tribal lines. And so if you want to have national unity and integrity, you need a single party that can bring everybody together to avoid tribalism and so on and so forth. The second argument was that Africa's development challenge is so huge that a single party provides opportunity for efficiency in development planning and implementation of policies, that multi-party democracy will dissipate energy, with people, it's too divisive and all of that. And then the last was that once you have a single party under one leadership, it becomes a symbol of the country that will enable everyone to come under one single umbrella. But as it turned out, it didn't work, either in Ghana under Nkrumah or in Tanzania under Nyerere. They suffered a lot of development failure, because what it turned out to be was the suppression of dissent, suppression of opposition. And so you have a situation where either you fall in line or you get roasted. And the net consequences was, in some places, military takeover, and then in other places, eventually leading to multi-party democracy. So the argument of Jonathan is very stale, and apparently, of course, he has not read the literature. So he can be making the claim that he's making. Even with Ujamaa, the African Socialist parties in Tanzania did not quite succeed. So I think it's important for us to take. And of course, Tanzania now is not a single-party state. Even Nyerere himself oversaw the transition to a multi-party democracy. So I think that case should be rested. What we are talking now, as I've said before, is not even a case of a single party like we have in China, where the parties legislate and can talk about democracy within the party, because this is a different thing. I was talking about single parties that does not allow dissent, that suppress democratic participation, and so on and so forth. Now we are talking about a Chinese system where you emphasize meritocracy and you emphasize grassroots participation. So there are two different kind of experiences that we are talking about. So the label may be a single party, but if you look at the content, it varies greatly. So Jonathan cannot be right, in that reference to Tanzania. I think what we have now is not even APC. I mean, look at the demonstrations in Lagos, within the APC, just about local government elections. So that tells you exactly. And then look at what happens in the National House of Assembly, over the speakership and all that. That tells you, we are not talking about a single party. We are talking about one man rule, who wants to dictate everything that goes on everywhere. And the result is the kind of gerontocratic rule that we have of elderly men who want to hold on to power regardless of their capacity for governance. You see in Cameroon, you see in some of these African countries among governments. So it didn't work in Tanzania, it didn't work in Ghana, it didn't work in Burkina Faso, it did not work in any part of Africa. So Jonathan cannot be right.
Right. Okay. Before I go to Barrister, let me just read this comment. 𝐂𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐋 says, let's all assume all this defection here and there is in favor of LP or PDP. How will the media explain the situation? Everyone will be happy. Tell the opposition to organize their home. APC won't come to help them. There was a time PDP was all everywhere with more governors, but nobody shouted one party system at the time. Let us all know that this is politics, not emotional game. Play your game to favor you as a political party. That's 𝐂𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐋. So, Barrister, one of the callers posed the question regarding the EFCC and justice in Nigeria, that with the way things are going, can the common man hope to get justice in this country? Barrister.
Yes. Thank you very much. Please permit me.
Yes, sir.
Before I go there, let me say something about former President Goodluck Jonathan. I hope the former president is not having a relapse of what plagued him while in office. I used to think he was a Democrat, and I think somebody should remind him that it will be better for him to remain so. Now, to the gentleman who called in, yes, I agree with you. It is sad, indeed very sad, that in recent times, law and order has remained a mirage. From the police that initiates the process to the courts expected to conclude it, it has not been pellucid, with Nigerians losing hope in the entire system and with adverse consequences, such as the most required patriotism, which is today very, very absent. Patriotism is fueled by positive values the country embraces, such as freedom, justice, and equality. As you can see, that infamous chamber is breaching all of those with this their obnoxious decree that they want to promulgate. Wait till we do these people now.
Right. Okay. So we're wrapping up the conversation now. Thank you so much, Barrister and Prof. Thank you, listeners, as well, for the calls and the comment. Thanks to Deji Adeyanju, who also featured in a recorded interview.
Toba,
yes, sir.
Don't let us, because we don't have a guest, not make somebody laugh. Oh.
So you want to make
Prof laugh?
You want to make Prof? Okay, Prof.
Prof is our guest.
Yeah, because I was waiting for that. It has been a real
Okay.
Let it happen.
Prof.
Yeah.
I know you have severally played the role of observer at elections. If you think this role will exculpate you during the next election and create an exception for you under the coming obnoxious decree of compulsory voting, you lie, oh, because we no go agree.
I only vote when I want to vote. Nobody can force me to vote, even if they bring their law.
Wallahi. I'm telling you.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barrister. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the show. Thank you, my producer, 𝐷𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐴. My name is OLORUNTOBA YUSUF. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday morning. The Podium returns 9 a.m. next Saturday. Bye for now.
Iwasafa Yamula Molo Hanipo Kalize Wemaye Wemolo Asafasa Pelisiza Simyama Iwasafa
32 FM 94.9, filling the world with laughter.
Okay, my people, this na the station where they totori your body with betalicious baby with the boss brain.
Baby with the boss brain.
Best music.
You're in the mix.
Best music.
32 FM 94.9. Now we dey fill the world with laughter.
Your problem.
32 FM 94.9. Hi, 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐄𝐿 is my name.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Akin Lewis, and everybody knows me as Akin Lewis in this town. Well, I want to welcome you on 32 FM 94.9. This is the station that makes you laugh. So keep smiling. Stay tuned.
Okay, my people, this na the station where they totori your body with betalicious baby with the boss brain.
Baby with the boss brain.
Best music.
You're in the mix.
Best music.
32 FM 94.9. Now we dey fill the world with laughter.
Your problem.
Heaven made a radio, gave it a soul, and called it 32 FM 94.9, filling the world with laughter.
Make me your radio and turn me up when you feel low. Show me your 32.
Jesus, you love me too much. I'm a lady. I'm a baby. Ina sama o. Ora o. Yes ma. Ṣé dáadáa ni. Dáadáa ni. Ṣàjẹ́ wá. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́. Ẹyin rẹ̀ mọ̀ wẹ́rẹ́ yìí o. Ṣé abẹ́yìn àparò lè yí ni. Ẹyin ògóńgó ni. Ọmọ bàjẹ́ ò ṣe mi lọ ìjálẹ̀ gírí bọ̀ wẹ́ ẹyin ògóńgó ni. Ṣẹ̀gbẹ́yìn ilé olórí. Àmọ́ kó gbẹ́rù rẹ sọ. Èlé ló lé. Èlé ló lẹ́yìn o. 200 naira ni. 200 lẹ́yìn èyí. Ṣé operation ni mi gbèbí adìyẹ lọ́dọ̀ rẹ? Èyí àgbèbí la ránṣẹ́ sí kò bá yẹ gbèbí rán. Ọmọ bàjẹ́ ò sí torí wọ́n ti gúnyàn ta ló gbọ́jà lé ẹ lórí. Ìgbà kan mọ̀ ẹ́ pé iṣẹ́ ẹyin kò í kiri ìgbẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ tẹ̀lé bọ́ì lọ. Ìgbà kan tẹ̀ ìtẹ̀ mú ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀. Iṣẹ́ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ni kò obìnrin gúnyàn. Ó ti mú ẹmẹ́gbẹ́ ògiri ní mọ́kànmọ́.
This kit was performed by Goroso Ekiti.
32 FM 94.9.
32 FM 94.9. Ibẹ̀ sálà wà yìí. FM tẹgbẹ́ wọn kì í ṣòro. Méjì ò sí dẹ́rìn ipò ṣonú. Gbogbo ọjọ́ bí ọdún ni ìjẹ̀rí o. Ẹ máa dunnú. Bọ̀bọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ ronú tí mo ní ẹ̀fẹ̀ yín. Àwa bẹ̀rẹ̀ gbá gbogbo àgbáyé. Eré ìdárayá lóríṣiríṣi. Ètò ọlọ́gbọ́n tí múnú ẹni dùn o. 94.9 ẹ ó ti gbọ́. Polówó kájé wọlé, ìyẹn nífẹ̀yìn ẹ̀. Frequency 94.9 o. Àtúpalẹ̀ àwọn ìròyìn. Lórílẹ̀ yìí títí tóbi tó yòókù. Ẹ̀yìn ẹ̀rẹ̀ rédíò ẹ ó ti gbọ́. Show me your 32, ó yá fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀. Adéwálé ṣóhun lè fi bọ̀. 32 FM ṣe bóun lè mí bá tó. Adé ẹsẹ̀ sì mélé ṣàìgbọ́.
Níkànnì kẹrìnléláàádọ́rùn tó ń fa mẹ́sàn-án ẹ̀ bọ̀ lẹ́yìn 32 FM 94.9. À ń fẹ̀rín gba gbogbo àgbáyé.
Àdán wàká ìdánté tipẹ́tipẹ́ 32 FM ó tàwọn yọ plenty program tó sì ń fẹ́fẹ́. We just dey gbádùn yọ síta ilé 94.9 àwa nìyẹn kò sólókìtì bí ìjímèrè láyé mi. Make we now dey lis ten sí 32 FM. Ẹ lis ten sí 32 FM. 94.9 ẹ lis ten sí 32 FM. Ó tàwọn yọ 32 FM. Dúpẹ́ ní Bàdàláwà 32 FM. Àjàkẹ́ ẹ̀rín kò
kókó wa ò sí.
32 FM.
Ètò tó pójú owó.
32 FM.
Humor essence.
32
Entertainment, sport information.
32 FM.
Orin àgbọ́dínú. 94.9 LTC.
32 FM.
Fẹ́fẹ́ polówó ọjà.
32 FM.
Kájọ owó ọgbà. Yomi Ọlábísí na true yarn. 94.9 LTC. 94.9 LTC.
32 FM 94.9.
Make we not the list see.
32 FM.
LTC.
32
94.9 LTC.
32 FM.
Ó tàwọn yọ.
32 FM.
Dúpẹ́ ní Bàdáláwà.
32
Àjàpẹ́ ẹ̀rín kókó wa ò sí.
32 FM.
Ètò tó pójú owó.
32 FM.
Humor essence.
32
Entertainment, sport information.
32 FM.
Orin àgbọ́dínú. 94.9 LTC.
32 FM.
32 FM 94.9.
Ìkóǹkóṣódé ò balẹ̀ adẹ́bìtì àti ríra kò dé sí àbọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ àbólúgbọ́n lọ́kọ̀ máa rẹ̀ sá lọ. Ọmọdé láyà rẹ̀ mú ní kí o kò sí nǹkan kan ẹ̀ ní bá wa lọ́dọ̀ ló sì èèyàn àwa náà sì ní báyìí lọ́dọ̀ kàtà láéláé eégún tá à ń bá jọ tayọ ní pẹ̀lú bí wọ́n bá ṣẹlẹ́rù àṣẹ tí ń yọná lẹ́nu akọrin lọ́dọ̀ lòsì ọmọ aláṣìkí là ń bá náà ní láti ìlú Ìlọrin àbọ̀njẹ́ nínú yọ wá tẹ́yẹ́yẹ́ ẹ lè máa ṣe apẹ́yìn ọmọ ká mo dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun ọ̀rẹ́ dòdò bí ilé gàdò ẹ máa gbọ́ 32 FM 94.9 Adẹ́rìnpòṣónú ọmọdé láyà rẹ̀ mú ní kí o kò sí nǹkan kan.
ẹlẹ́mbẹ̀ wọn orúkọ tèmi ni Dr. Akin Lewis tí gbogbo ayé mọ̀ sí Akin Lewis ẹ mọ̀ mí ẹ mọ̀ wá ní kẹ́ káàbọ̀ sórí 32 FM ìkànnì apanilẹ́rìn ẹ̀fẹ̀ yín o àdá fún gbogbo wa.
Ọgbà ẹ̀yọ̀ ọ̀tọ̀kù ló lo ẹ̀yìn sọ̀mọ̀rí. Ọgbà ẹ̀yìn gbajúmọ̀ pátápátá tí ẹ̀ máa tẹ́tí sílẹ̀ sí ń tó dùn. Tí ẹ ti máa ń gbọ́ ní gbogbo ìgbà. 32 FM gangan ní kẹ́ ẹ máa gbọ́ 94.9. Ó máa dùn Ọlọ́run bá ń gbọ́ bí ìgbà tí èèyàn ń fẹ̀gùn sí jiyàn ni. Èèbà Adéwálé Ẹlẹ́ṣọ̀ ló kọ́ mọ̀ ẹ̀dọ́ọ̀sẹ̀.
Ọmọ nípa
yà orúkọ tèmi tí ẹ̀ ń gbóhùn rẹ̀ ni Yomi King tí gbogbo ayé mọ̀ sí ọ̀pọ̀ ẹ̀bẹ́ iléeṣẹ́ 32 FM láwa yìí 94.9 iléeṣẹ́ ẹ̀ máa gbọ́ dáadáa o iléeṣẹ́ tèmi náà ń gbọ́ ní gbogbo ìgbà ni ẹ̀ máa gbọ́ wọn.
All right, though. Ẹ káàárọ̀.